not just about the events, but making a sense of what is happening, what will happen as far as the development of this great nation, Nigeria, is concerned. From Monday till now, bit by bit, brick by brick, conversation about the betterment of this great nation, different dynamics coming into the polity and, of course, the governance in Nigeria. The rule of law on one side, politics at the other, and, of course, the latest being the state of emergency declared in Rivers State by His Excellency President Bola Tinubu, and the development and updates that have heralded it. So far, it's a developing story, and trust us to be on the matter. Femi Ojo is my name. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you today. And, of course, Emeka Daniel is there. Mr. Daniel, good morning. How do you do?
Yeah, good morning. Very fine, thank you.
Yeah.
Hope you had a great night.
Very well. And what a week we have had.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very interesting week. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, everyone.
Yeah.
Wherever you're viewing from. It's a beautiful Friday morning. Thank God it's Friday. Today we get to, Fridays are always happy. Today I get to unleash the Danzigi in me. And that's Friday for you. Like Femi just said, a lot has happened during the week, during the course of the week. Then yesterday was a kind of climax when the National Assembly actually deliberated on the state of emergency in Rivers State. And a lot of Nigerians are disappointed. A lot of Nigerians, if you feel the pulse of the people, a lot of Nigerians are disappointed because if eminent Nigerians, legal practitioners, institutions like the NBA, NJC, and so many others came out to say that, oh, the president shouldn't have suspended the governor of Rivers State and the elected House of Assembly members. But yesterday, the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, and the Senate both approved the decision of the president. Now, one begins to wonder if the average Nigerian thinks otherwise about this matter, then who are these guys actually representing? That's the question. Who are they representing? That's a very big question. Thank you once again for joining us this morning on Morning Spring. This is Western Spring Television. My name is Emeka Daniel. It promises to be a wonderful show. You don't want to miss it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy.
All right, and we'll go on this quick break for now. We have a lot to say and to do this morning. Stay with us.
Oh, thank you for joining us once again. We go straight to the newspaper review this morning.
Right.
And we start with the Punch newspaper. Let's check out some of the stories making the rounds on the Punch, on the newspapers this morning. So we start with the Punch newspaper. National Assembly backs Tinubu as Fubara counters president's allegations. National Assembly backs Tinubu as Fubara counters president's allegations. With a rider, suspended governor blames Wike. South governors oppose Tinubu. Ibas warns pipeline vandals. You can check out that story on page 2 and, of course, page 45 of the Punch newspaper this morning, talking about Rivers emergency rule right there. Moving to the top strip of the Punch newspaper this morning. APC backs Tinubu as Atiku, Obi, El Rufai intensify coalition talks. APC backs Tinubu as Atiku, Obi, El Rufai intensify coalition talks. You'll find a story on page 45 of the Punch newspaper. Falling container grounds motorists on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Falling container grounds motorists on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. You can see that picture right there of that gridlock as a result of a falling container. on that expressway. Moving to the bottom strip of the Punch newspaper this morning. Federal government panel reconvenes Monday over Naira for crude crisis. FG panel reconvenes Monday over Naira for crude crisis. You'll find a story on page 29 of the Punch newspaper. US-based Nigerian woman faces 10-year jail for $40,980 fraud. US-based Nigerian woman faces 10-year jail for $40,980 fraud. You see that story on page 15 of the Punch newspaper. And finally, from the Punch newspaper this morning, federal government pardoned 4,000 prisoners, saved 1 billion naira on feeding. That's according to Minister. Federal government pardoned 4,000 prisoners, saved 1 billion naira on feeding. You'll find that story on page 43 of the Punch newspaper. I mean, they pardoned a whooping 4,000 prisoners. And again, what's the motive here? Actually, they are saving money on feeding to show you that the cost of feeding is so high. Saving 1 billion naira, that's a whole lot. So it's made common sense for them to pardon those prisoners. Let's just hope that those prisoners get rehabilitated and they're integrated back into the society. And that'll be all from the Punch newspaper this morning.
All right. And from The Guardian, thrones for hire. Thrones for hire. Interesting one there. How politics, corrupt process taint traditional institution and royal stools. How politics, corrupt process taint traditional institution and royal stools. And below that you have, a stool, a vacant one for that matter, and, some kingmakers are there with the staff of officers as well waiting to be held or to be handed over to whoever, will come through. And at the other side of that, you see hands, offering dollars and, of course, naira as well. And maybe these might resonate with many people, many kingdoms who have issues with, the compromise or the corruption, alleged corruption, that has pervaded the getting of new obas, emirs, igwes, traditional, rulers in many places. Now, away from that, a report hinges failure of public water services and corruption negligence. Corruption. Now, we freed 4,082 minor offenders to save 1 billion yearly, says federal government. All right. And the federal government, through the Ministry of Justice, through the president, has the prerogative, even governors, prerogative of mercy. Now, absence of Nigerian envoys. Now, it will, quick one on that, it will be ironic or sometimes saddening for you to know that people with who possibly have stolen fowl, some petty things. Some of them are even awaiting trials. So if their case files appear, I'm sure it's the right thing for the government to say, if actually you've stolen, by the way, stealing and all of these things, it stands condemned. But when you see some of the things they have done, somebody has stolen petty stuff, and they have been awaiting trial for like 5 years. Now, even if they have been jailed, they will have been through with that. So I think it's only normal that the federal government will let them go. But just like you said, rehabilitation is key.
Very important. Now, because there are lots of people languishing in jail for very petty crimes, and they've not even been tried.
That's the issue.
And they're just
Many
there.
of them are just there, languishing away. Some of them have been declared missing by their families. They don't know they are somewhere hidden in detention. Now, absence of Nigerian envoys not affecting foreign missions. Tuga assurance, Many persons tell me, Mr. Minister, to say, you can deceive yourself. 109 embassies of this nation have no ambassador at the moment. And the minister is saying it's not affecting at all. Now, almost 2 years of President Tinubu's administration, no ambassadors in 109 of these foreign embassies of our nations. Now, Nigerian embassy in foreign nations, the thing is, if it has not affected for 2 years and business is going as usual, you rather say maybe we don't need them after all.
That's exactly. So what have they been doing? What is their function?
If it is true, they are not there. They have not been appointed. The place have been vacant. And
which means those who have been there before, have they really been active?
Again,
for their absence not to have been
felt. If the minister has said for like 20 months, nothing has been affected, then Nigerians would rather say, oh, the work is going on perfectly.
Exactly.
No need.
That's my point.
And then we'll know who is deceiving who at this point. Now, 2027, Ganduje minister dismisses Atiku. Obi dismiss Atiku rather. Obi El-Rufai coalition as failed gang up. 2027, Ganduje minister dismiss Atiku. Obi El-Rufai coalition as failed gang up. Of course, you saw the coalition yesterday, spanning through different political parties and interest and ideology, raising their voice to the state of emergency situation. Now, NAS faces backlash over state of emergency approval. Fubara denies culpability. And expert laments rising use of synthetic drugs among the youth. That is one pandemic in our society that we need to do a lot about. Top strip. For peace, Pandev advises Tinubu to reverse Rivers emergency rule, and salary review for political office holders underway, says Aram Fak, chairman. Interesting one there.
I hope you are reviewing downwards.
I endured Akpabio's sexual advances for over a year. Natasha alleges. All right. Because of time, so many talking points. But that will be all from the front page of The Guardian for today.
From the Guardian newspaper, we move straight to the Nigerian Tribune. Moving to the Nigerian Tribune this morning. After National Assembly approval, IBAS assumes duty, vows to restore law and order. After National Assembly approval, IBAS assumes duty, vows to restore law and order. That's talking about the Rivers emergency rule right now. Says its mission requires collective support from all stakeholders. Without nay votes, reps, senators approve president's request. Ask administrator to report to National Assembly, not the Federal Executive Council. Senate wants eminent persons to resolve Wike Fubara dispute. Tinubu salutes National Assembly. Then we also have South-South Governors Forum says declaration did not meet constitutional provisions. You find all that on page 3 of the Nigerian Tribune. And moving to the top strip of the Nigerian Tribune, 25% oversubscription of First Holdco's shares right there. We have the story right there. 25% oversubscription of First Holdco's 150 billion rights issue paves the way for its private placement of 350 billion naira. That's an interesting one right there. Moving to other stories on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Kidnapping. Police deploy intervention squad on Shagamu Benin Expressway. Kidnapping. Police deploy intervention squad on Shagamu Benin Expressway. You'll find that story on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune. Corps members 77,000 naira allowance takes effect March, and that's according to the Director General of the National Youth Service Corps. I'll say congratulations to the Corps members. They've been waiting for this for so long. So let's hope that indeed they get the 77,000 naira in the month of March. And that's talking about next week anyway. So let's hope they keep to their word this time around and implement it for God's sake. Because sometimes I do feel for youth corps members. I remember when I was 7, in my own time, we were earning just, wasn't that 19,000? Was it 19,000 or 16,000? I can't even remember. But that's about NYC. Let's just hope they implement this 77,000 naira as promised by their Director General. Moving on to other stories on the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Ibadan stampede. Oyo government withdraws case against Naomi Oriyomi. Principal. Ibadan Stampede, or your government withdraws case against Naomi Oriyomi and principal. You'll find out on page 12 of the Nigerian Tribune. We will not allow destruction of national assets. That's according to DHQ. We will not allow destruction of national assets. With the rider, Disco office attacks. Nigerian military affirms commitment to rule of law. Of course, some military officers have been accused of, what would I say, recklessness after the disco offices were attacked. So let's see what the authorities do about that particular one. Right there, you see the picture right there on the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. That was the scene of the accident in Abuja, a very unpleasant one. Carcasses of vehicles affected by the accident at Karu Bridge on Yanya Kefi Road on Wednesday. You see that picture right there. Finally, from the Nigerian Tribune this morning, Rivers, Atiku, Babacha, Lawal rather, El-Rufai, others reject emergency rule. Rivers, Atiku, Babacha, Lawal, El-Rufai, others reject emergency rule. With a rider, task National Assembly, judiciary to save democracy. Accuses Tinubu of bias. Like I said when we started, a lot of Nigerians have condemned the action of the president who imposed emergency rule on Rivers State and also suspended the governor. Now they are asking the judiciary to step up. Let's just hope. Let's see what happens, actually. Let us see. And I wish the people of Rivers State the best in this case. And that'll be all from the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
All right, from the Tribune, we go to the Daily Trust newspaper. Atiku announces coalition against Tinubu. With the rider, president cannot be distracted by sore losers. That's coming from Onanuga. Atiku announces coalition against Tinubu. President cannot be distracted by sore losers. And of course, it is what it is. And below that, you have the scene of the gridlock along the Abuja-Nyanya Coffee Road in the FCT yesterday after explosion on Karu Bridge on Wednesday night. And then the insert, you see some victims receiving treatment at the National Hospital yesterday. Above that, Rivers crisis, doubt over quorum. As National Assembly approves emergency rule, many persons have said, how many of them? The speaker gave a figure, but there's some think maybe the figure is not what it is. But then we wait to see, there should be a register of how they clocked in yesterday. How many of them were there to have fun?
Are you talking about the House of Reps?
House of Reps,
now, actually, yesterday, Femi, at the House of Reps, they had 243 members. But what they had was a voice vote. For such a serious matter, it was a voice vote. The same thing happened in the Senate when they had a closed-door meeting. So, in fact, don't let me talk about that. Let me read that for the next segment.
Abuja accident. Agency calls for blood donation as death toll hit 10. Please, if you can help in that area, please too. And core members will get 77,000 naira allowance this month. NYC I giggled when Daniel read it earlier because we have been through this road before. We are used to this. They were promised last year. They even promised to backdate it to July last year, but nothing has happened. So while we are hopeful, we won't shout uhuru. Many persons will not applaud that decision till we start seeing what it is. And that will be all from the Daily Trust.
From the Daily Trust, we move straight to the Nation newspaper. On the Nation newspaper this morning, IBAS assumes office, warns against sabotage disorder. IBAS assumes office, warns against sabotage disorder. There's an interesting one right there. With a rider, Senate, House, OK Tinubu's emergency rule declaration. President hails lawmakers. Lawmakers' patriotism, that's interesting. Fubara, no hand, I beg your pardon, Fubara, no hand in oil pipeline bombing. Fubara, no hand in oil pipeline bombing. That's the suspended governor of Rivers State there, disclaiming allegations that he had something to do with the bombings of oil pipelines in Rivers State. Moving on to other stories on the Punch, on the Nation newspaper rather. On the top strip, we have that story there again. 25% of our subscription of First Holdco's 150 billion naira rights issue paves the way for its private placement of 350 billion naira. Eagles in win. Talking about World Cup qualifiers now against Rwanda. The Eagles are actually in a good shape right now. You know, yesterday we talked about it, that sometimes it comes down to permutations and calculations.
Right.
But let's just hope the Eagles the best. Yes, in the coming World Cup. Moving on to other stories on the Nation newspaper. Police raise death toll in Abuja gas tanker explosion to 10. Police raise death toll in Abuja gas tanker explosion to 10. That's quite an unfortunate one right there. Nnamdi Kanu's trial begins afresh after 3 years. Nnamdi Kanu's trial begins afresh after 3 years. Southwest spends 800 billion naira monthly on cow meat. Southwest spends 800 billion naira monthly on cow meat. I can attest to that. You know, people of the Southwest consume meat a lot. Absolutely, absolutely. You see someone eating 2 wraps of fufu and 10 pieces of meat. That's actually interesting. Because of our time, I think that'll be all from the Nation newspaper this morning.
All right, just a quick one from the Punch. Quick one. Rivers emergency rule. National Assembly backs Tinubu as Fubara counters president's allegation. Many things. And I think we've looked through all the papers that we have this morning. We'll take this quick break right now. And when we return, we will be speaking to critical stakeholders still on the subject matter of the state of emergency declaration, the legality of that, the ratification of that decision by both arms of the National Assembly yesterday, the Green Chamber and the Red Chamber. And if actually it was really done well, we learned and we saw that it was done through voice vote. Now, for such a decision that has a constitutional threshold, is it done by voice? You know, how do you know who has abstained from that? Even though, while there was no nay about, ratification, we can't really ascertain if all the persons that were there agreed to that. That aside, the man in the eye of the storm, Sim Fubara, or one of the men rather, has responded to the allegation of being, part of the attack on the pipelines. The man has said that I'm not part of that, but then it is what it is, as we usually say. You don't want to miss any part of this conversation at all. Many elders in the land, in Nigeria, have been speaking on the decision. There was a coalition, that, showed themselves yesterday, made of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, former Kaduna State Government, El Rufai, the head of the Obedient Movement, Dr. Tanko, many persons as well, former SGF as well, Babachi Ulawa. They were at a desk and they spoke with a unified voice condemning, the decision, the state of emergency thing. And the presidency as well has responded. A lot to really talk about. This Morning Spring, on Western Spring Television with Daniel and I. We'll be back.